And welcome to a special edition of Stakelbeck on Terror. Well, Iran's Revolutionary Guards Corps are the guardians of one of the world's most secretive and radical regimes. Over the past 30 years, their structure has been nearly impossible for Western intelligence agencies to penetrate. But I sat down recently with one man who did exactly that, working undercover for the CIA inside Iran's Revolutionary Guards. For years, Reza Kalili put his life on the line to pass on sensitive information about the inner workings of the Iranian regime. He tells his story in the fascinating new book, A Time to Betray. Now, because of the nature of his work, Reza is forced to disguise his appearance and his voice for safety reasons. After watching our exclusive interview, you'll see why. Now, let's go to work. Well, Reza Kalili, thank you so much for joining us here on Stakelbeck on Terror.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be on your show.
A lot of analysts here in the U.S. and the West say that the Iranian Revolutionary Guards are the real power brokers inside Iran, the most powerful force inside Iran. You were inside the Guards. What's your take on that, and what is the structure of the Iranian Revolutionary Guards Corps?
Well, once the clerical establishment, after the revolution, took power, then everything changed. Then the ideology spread, then it became much more than a dictatorship. They enforced the religious laws, and so the Revolutionary Guards then all of a sudden became more of a fanatic force. And so they grew from there on. Then many of their commanders had been trained by the PLO. Many of the PLO members were there in Iran helping train the guard members. And so step by step it became much more radicalized. And then it got involved in terrorism, then it got involved in the financial institutions of the country, and before you know it, they started running every aspect of the country under the rulerships of the clerics. Revolutionary Guards to the clerics is like son to a father, and they've created this organization, and they are loyal to them, and the one cannot exist without the other.
How did you end up becoming disillusioned with the Iranian Revolution, with the Revolutionary Guards Corps, and how did you make contact with the American CIA?
My best friend and his siblings were arrested because of opposing the regime. At least, my best friend was sympathetic to political parties against the regime. And there I witnessed what crimes against humanity is being committed under the name of God. And I really became disillusioned, not only with the regime, but with the religion that they practice. And at that time, after seeing teenage girls being raped, tortured, and executed, virgins being raped, the order was to rape teenage virgins, because if they killed them and they were virgins, they would end up in heaven. So they wanted to deny them this reward. And this is against every principles of humanity.
And you saw this firsthand inside Evin Prison.
I saw a group of teenage girls tortured, taken to the courtyard and executed. I talked to my best friend who told me that they raped his little sister in front of him just to bring pain to him and get him a name others. And I saw a lot more. So I knew something had to be done. I could have come back to U.S. and lived my life and brought my wife legally. But then I knew something had to be done.
Coming up, hear how the U.S. government has misunderstood the Iranian threat for 30 years. It's all about Islamic ideology. Stay tuned.
The 700 Club. See it as never before. The stories, the places, the people. The 700 Club, now in HD. We'll take you to India, China, Africa. Africa, Thailand, and across the USA. So close, you'll feel as though you were there. Look into the eyes of the people you've helped and see the hope you've given them. Experience what God is doing in the world today in high definition. The 700 Club, now in HD.
How frustrating was it working with the CIA? They didn't get it in a lot of ways, did they, about the ideology of the Iranian regime?
Well, I gotta admit here that working with CIA, many handlers that I had, they always kept an honest relationship, an understanding relationship. They never forced me to do anything, and they left the door open for me to quit at any time. And I experienced that from day one. But what was most frustrating was that some of them even shared my opinion that this government is dangerous. But the frustration was with U.S. administrations who chose not to listen and to continue on a negotiation path which hasn't got them anywhere for over 3 decades.
And this was Republican and Democratic presidents, right?
Yes, I mean, it has started with President Carter, who called Khomeini a man of God, and him and Brzezinski thought that an Islamic regime in replacement of Shah would serve the region better because of the Soviet Union. I mean, how delusional could they have been? They started this. They let the genie out of the bottle. Martyrdom took shape, suicide bombings took shape, Hezbollah was created, Islamic Jihad, Hamas, and I can go on and on. This was a failed policy by the Carter administration, but the negotiation path has been continued on with every U.S. administration ever since.
How about 1983, the U.S. Marine barracks bombing, which had Iranian fingerprints on it? Talk about that bombing, the Marine barrack, 243 U.S. Marines killed in Beirut. Talk about that bombing and the American withdrawal under President Reagan. Did that embolden the Iranians, the lack of response by the U.S.?
Well, you see, the reason for the failure of every American administration is that they do not understand the ideology. It's taken right out of the Quran. I mean, it says in Quran that you kill the non-believers until there are no more non-believers on earth, and everyone is a believer of Allah, not God, Allah. And
not the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
No, Allah. There are two things in Quran that you have to understand. One is when you say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulallah. It's when you testify that Muhammad is the prophet of God and that Allah is the only God. You got to understand this. So they take it right out of the Quran. And Khomeini in early 80s ordered Ahmad Vahidi, who is the current defense minister of Iran. He was the chief intelligence officer of the guards at that time. He was running the intelligence operation. And this is documented in history. Khomeini ordered Ahmad Vahidi to take the fight to the Americans and Israelis. Khomeini believed, and everybody missed that there's got to be blood till the end of time. There's got to be bloodshed till the end of time, until Mahdi, the Shiite 12th Imam, reappears, because Islam has to conquer the world. We left Lebanon. We left Beirut after that. That reinforced, that was the first step, that reinforced their ideology that we are weak, and that the more aggressive they get, the more we're going to step back. And it picked up from there on.
Up next, we go deep inside the Iranian regime's culture of martyrdom and hear how Iran is on the threshold of nuclear weapons. Don't move.
You're watching CBN News Channel. Available on the web 24/7 at cbnnewschannel.com.
Islamic principles, Quranic principles, which you mentioned, how central were they to to the Revolutionary Guards? Were these drilled into you every day, the principles of jihad, of martyrdom, of killing the Christians and Jews, of the caliphate, of Sharia? Were these drilled in on a regular basis?
The ideology of martyrdom and ending up in heaven alongside Prophet Muhammad and Imam Ali was the main focus of the clerics, because they preached the ultimate sacrifice, as Khomeini called it. And this was the same ideology which was preached on the militias in Lebanon. At the time that the guards went there, I had direct information that the militias didn't even have what the guards were saying. The militias didn't even have courage to kill one single Israeli soldier. So they took that ideology there, they trained them in mosques, in the bases in Iran, and preached the ultimate sacrifice, and martyrdom took place from there on. So the guards and the Basij and the forces loyal to the Islamic regime is of one ideology, that you have to die for the glorification of Allah, and that's the ultimate sacrifice, and that's the ultimate prize for being a Muslim.
And that is what drove thousands of young Iranian boys to put plastic keys around their necks and clear minefields during the Iran-Iraq War.
Yes, as I've stated in my book, we were at the front taking these boys, 12, 13-year-olds. They had recruited these boys from villages and given them machine guns, and they would unleash them in open field to take out mines or attack the Iraqi positions. Tens of thousands were killed in that process.
There is a lot of debate here in the West about Iran's intentions with their nuclear program. Do you believe that if Iran acquires a nuclear weapon, which they're very close to doing, that number one, they will use it against Israel, and number two, that they will use it in some capacity against the U.S.? Is this a divine mission for Iran to acquire nuclear weapons, and can anything stop them, sanctions, negotiations, short of military action?
The Guards commander, Mohsen Rezai, directly got authorization from Ayatollah Khomeini, who was the supreme leader then, to start the nuclear bomb project, not a nuclear peaceful energy project. The Guards got authorization to start making a nuclear bomb. Ayatollah Khomeini approved of that. So first of all, what Khomeini says now, that making a nuclear bomb is against our religion, is a big lie. And they take it from Quran, because it says, deceive your enemy until such time you are strong enough to destroy them.
And they're on the threshold now.
Well, they are. They've successfully put together a solid fuel missile, the Sigil missile, which covers all of Israel, all of Middle East, parts of Europe, all of US bases, and they're working on intercontinental ballistic missiles with North Korea, and they're working on weaponization. A Bushehr facility is up and running. The spent fuel from that could provide up to 50, 60 plutonium bombs in a year or two, and right now they've got 2.8 ton of enriched uranium, which is sufficient for 2 nuclear warheads. So they are on the path to become nuclear armed. Are they going to use it? Well, I've discussed this in many places, that no matter how you look at this, both sides of the coins are unacceptable. I am saying, based on my experience, based on what I know about the regime, because I was there. I was at the war front, I was in the mosque, I was at the sermons, and I was with my guard friends and all of that. This is a messianic regime. They go from the centuries-old hadiths, which has predicted this day. This day for them is the ultimate day in Islam. It's the day of justice in their views. And in that, 1/3 of the world population has to die due to nuclear wars, another 1/3 due to hunger and chaos and havoc. And then Imam Mahdi, the Shiites, 12 Imam, will reappear, kill the rest of the infidels, and raise the flag of Islam in all corners of the world.
And they truly believe this. This isn't just lip service. They're true believers.
They deeply believe this. They truly believe everything is in place. And the only part missing is for them to become a nuclear-powered state. Then they're going to attack Israel. They're going to attack oil fields in the Persian Gulf and European capitals. Millions are going to die. There's going to be a total global breakdown in the economy. There's going to be havoc, lawlessness, and hunger. We're going to witness the most destruction humanity has witnessed, and the biggest depression they have experienced. And this is exactly what they're after.
Coming up, Reza explains Iran's plans for America and Israel. They don't involve peaceful diplomacy. Stay tuned.
Ready on the set? Going to Dr. Robertson in 3, 2...
On December 3rd, 2009, Pat Robertson entered the studio to update his landmark work, The Secret Kingdom, to help people live abundant lives amid today's challenges.
I want to talk to you today about The Secret Kingdom. What is The Secret Kingdom?
The Secret Kingdom Volume 1, available now.
So they will use those nuclear weapons against Israel and against European capitals.
That is my belief, and I have no doubt about it that they'll bring that about.
Which brings me to the next question. Will Iran, if and when it looks like right now, they acquire nuclear weapons, will they pass them off to terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda, Hezbollah, for use against the United States and against American interests?
Well, you see, I am puzzled why the West doesn't get this. I'm really puzzled. I mean, Ahmadinejad threatened the world just recently that if you attack us, and he was talking to the United States and Israel, if you attack us, then the world stage will be the war front. They have prepared for this day and have no doubt that the proliferation is going to become a nightmare. They're going to arm Hezbollah, they're going to arm Hamas, they're going to arm Islamic Jihad, Syria, and others. And already the Hezbollah cells have been spread out through Europe, North America, Latin America.
There are Hezbollah cells here in North America.
I have no doubt that they are. There are Iranian agents in the U.S. as we are speaking.
It looks highly unlikely that the Obama administration will take military action against Iran's nuclear facilities. Israel, it's a possibility. Does Iran have a contingency plan for the day after? If their nuclear weapons facilities are hit, what will Iran's response be? You say there's Iranian and Hezbollah agents here in North America. What will the Iranian response be if their nuclear facilities are attacked?
Well, first of all, let me tell you that they fear an attack. Despite their rhetoric, they have nightmares about the possibility of attack before they become nuclear armed. And all they say that we're going to destroy you, world stage is going to be a war front and all of that. It's to prevent the West from attacking right now and allowing them time to become untouchable. If the U.S. attacks, and if it does it right, and it supports the Iranian people on a parallel step, where you attack the guards, the nuclear facilities, and announce to the Iranian people that we're going to support you, come out and do what you wish to do with this regime, the regime will collapse much faster than anybody thinks. There is a huge crack in the regime right now, and they will not withstand an attack. Now, if Israel attacks, it's going to be a different scenario. Israel is going to pay a very heavy penalty for an attack on Iran, because Iran right now holds over 1,000 ballistic missiles. The ballistic missiles will rain down on Tel Aviv and on nuclear facilities of Israel.
So Iran will use those missiles against Israel?
They will, and have no doubt. Hezbollah will enter the war and open a second front. Hamas will enter the war, open another front. We have to do it. We should not let the Israelis do it alone. It's something that we have to do, because
the United States needs to take action.
United States has to take action, because this is directly a threat towards our national security. We don't need to invade the country. We don't need to send soldiers. It could be done very easily. We can support the opposition. We can provide the direct channel of communication.
You think the movement against this regime among the Iranian people is so strong that they could topple this regime with American help?
I have no doubt that they will do so. The hatred against this regime, and not only the regime, the religion. You know, before the revolution, people of Iran respected Islam. If they did not practice it, they at least respected Prophet Muhammad and the 12 Imams or what have you. But now they even resent the religion itself. They resent Quran, they resent Prophet Muhammad, and they are looking for a day for West to stand up for them, so they can come out with the knowledge and security that this is it, that they're not going to stab us from the back anymore, and that we're not going to end up being slaughtered by the regime forces. And the regime forces, once they see that the West is serious and they are attacking their bases, believe me, many would drop their guns and run away, and the government would collapse.
President Obama, time and time again, has attempted to reach out to Iran. He's been rebuffed time and time again.
He's the only U.S. president who called Iran the Islamic regime of Iran. He actually brought legitimacy to the Iranian regime. And I think that he thought that somehow America was at fault, that Iran holds such behavior. And perhaps he thought that by providing a new face to America, by saying that we wanna sit down and talk and forget about everything you've done in the past, and that it was our fault somehow, that they would come to the table. Well, this was as delusional as President Carter calling Khomeini a man of God. And this will go on unless we understand the ideology. And I keep on repeating this, but this is the key to the solution. This is the key to the puzzle. Because if you do not understand their ideology, you think that at some point you can come to a resolution with them. And negotiation and sanctions are not going to get anywhere, as we've seen, and Iran is going to become a nuclear-armed state, and the world is going to pay dearly unless we change course right now.
Up next, hear how Iran uses mosques to radicalize and recruit Muslims in the West. Don't move.
You're watching CBN News Channel. Available on the web 24/7 at cbnnewschannel.com.
What about Hezbollah? This is an Iranian creation. How powerful is Hezbollah? And is Iran involved in every intimate detail of Hezbollah? Hezbollah's entire strategy, is this driven by Iran?
The Iranian clerics, the Islamic regime of Iran, created Hezbollah. The guards created Hezbollah. And so Hezbollah is a proxy of Iran. And have no doubt that they take orders from Iran, and that they're under the direct influence of the Iranian regime. Hundreds of millions of dollars is provided annually, arms and training, and so the Hezbollah leaders have the same ideology as the Islamic regime. So they share that ideology of end of times and the conquest of Islam and the destruction of Israel.
And we see banners in the streets of Beirut when Hezbollah has military parades with Ayatollah Khomeini and the current supreme leader Khamenei.
Yes, and basically they're part of the Islamic regime's expansion strategy into the world, and they have obeyed it, and they have played a big part in all the terrorist activities around the world.
Tell us briefly, give us a few quick nuggets about some of Iran's most shocking illicit activities that your book reveals for the first time.
I worked several years in Europe, a few years in Europe through the Islamic community, and what I noticed and what I reported the most shockingly was the operation out of the mosques. Mosques are supposed to be a place for prayer, a place for submission to God, but it's used as recruitment centers, backdoor meetings, transfers of arms and cash, and putting together terrorist activities, and I was involved in some of their meetings.
You made a key point that Iran used mosques and Islamic cultural centers. Could you get a little more specific about that? How Iran used mosques and Islamic cultural centers in Europe and in the U.S. to literally plot terrorism?
I can tell you from experience. I was part of the operation. I was involved in the Islamic community. And I can tell you clearly, out of mosques, there was a big effort with the Afghan community, the Iranian Guard members, Pakistanis, Turks, and others, and they would recruit from them. They would transfer cash and arms, and mosques provided a safe haven, and actually, in my view, was one of the centers of the operation. So if an intelligence agency such as CIA infiltrates a mosque and understands that a specific guard member who runs it, then actually they could be very successful in drawing a chart of all the terrorist activities in that specific region. That's how centered the mosque operation was.
And that was not only, that's in Europe. You were involved in some of these operations in Europe.
Yes.
How about the U.S.?
It is absolutely the same. There is this, they recruit, they train, they sell the ideology of martyrdom, and many are guided and connected to terrorist groups, and you've seen this. Many U.S.-born citizens, Muslims, unfortunately, have been sold this idea and sent to Al-Qaeda camps or others. But the Iranians are very active in this country through the mosques and Islamic cultures to make those connections and run those operations.
Thank you so much. It was an honor. It was a real pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me, and God bless.
And free Iran.
Free Iran.
Thanks again to Reza Kalili for taking us inside the Iranian Revolutionary Guards and their operations in the West. Reza reveals much more of this exclusive inside information in his new book, A Time to Betray. You want to understand the threats we're up against? You need to read this book. And keep it right here as we report on the advancing global jihad that's in your backyard. Take care, and God bless.